to Two Big Brains. You
Nah.
gotta. You know what I'm giving away to somebody who subscribes to Two Big Brains?
What?
A jersey, an autographed jersey by Rashaan Evans.
Who's that?
He's on the practice squad of the Cowboys. I won an auction. He's a failed first-round draft pick, but we're giving it away.
I thought he was like a slam dunk contest winner that they got a few years ago. Kay Sterling,
Yeah.
the Browns in town. Are the Browns in town?
Yeah,
the Browns.
the Lucas Oil Stadium.
I saw today, and I wanted your opinion on this. Apparently, the Browns have cleared Deshaun Watson, and they're kind of blaming it on Deshaun Watson, but he hasn't practiced since like September 22nd.
Yeah.
This is odd. Like, if I'm going to clear someone, Kent, that means things don't happen in a bubble. If you're hurt, I say, Kent, now the doctors say you're okay. You're like, I can't throw. I wouldn't clear you. What is going on here?
What's going on is you don't guarantee $260 million to a child.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's going on.
That is.
He's turned into James Harden. He's going to hop on a plane and go rehab in Houston. That's what he's going to do.
And not show up unexcused. Kent, I saw that today. I forget what show I was watching this morning when I got up, and I'm like, wait a second. He says he can't play, and obviously this affects the Colts because that's who the Colts play, and we've seen Watson in here, and he can be really good. I mean, okay. But they've cleared him. And he's like, yeah, I can't do it. I can't put the team in jeopardy. I got a thing. It's a partial tear. And because would you agree with this? When you're in an NFL city, you pay attention to your team, and you think your problems are unique to your team.
Yeah, right.
Every team's got this bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Every team.
That's the whole thing. Oh my God, we keep losing quarterbacks. Well, everybody keeps losing their quarterback. Who doesn't lose their quarterback? Joe Burrow gets hurt. You know,
Lamar
Deshaun
Jackson's
Watson,
been hurt.
they'll get hurt.
Yeah.
That's what happens. But Deshaun Watson yesterday, after practice, said, you know what, there's no timetable.
No.
It could be tomorrow. It could be 2 weeks.
Yes.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
And people the Cleveland people, they're smart people. I know some of these people who cover the Browns. They got to be thinking, what?
What?
What's happening? So maybe we got it good.
I think this, and I want to get into whether we got it good with Anthony Richardson or not, but I want to get it, like, I always say this, and I learned this, and I think we've talked about this. When we were about in college, there was a relief pitcher named Steve Howe.
Yeah.
And he was good.
Yeah.
He was with the Dodgers, but all he kept doing was like every other week getting suspended for drug use. He was like the first guy that I really paid attention to. And I was talking about this with Coach Knight, I think when I was playing, I don't know what happened. And he's like, well, it's always the same people. He goes, I learned that in coaching. He told me, he goes, you know, you try to give a reclamation project to somebody, but his words, they fuck you in the end. So Steve Howe was the guy that had, if you look him up, I think he had 6 drug suspensions. So I always looked at this like, okay, it's always Antonio Brown.
Right.
Like now it's always Chandler Jones. It's constant. But when you see an idiotic thing like Deshaun Watson, it's almost like in my mind, I know there's going to be something else idiotic. It may not be criminal. It may not be violent. It may not be anything jail, but it's always good. There's going to be something else.
Drama brings drama. There's some drama people and there are non-drama people. People who just go to work. And it seems like the drama people, because of the drama, their brand value goes up.
That's so true.
They get signed and they make more money because of the drama. And I don't understand.
I don't either.
I want a quiet locker room, no drama. People just go do their job.
Do your job. And look, there's always going to be something. Somebody's going to take offense to something you do or you say. So that's different than, man, I got 30 people saying that you did a little handsy with them in a masseuse. And then I'm going to trust that person to lead my franchise and give them record numbers as a quarterback?
Yeah,
let's say for sake of argument. Well, look at Josh Allen. So Josh Allen gets drafted, and Josh Allen had tweets back when he was like 10, rapping lyrics that had the N-word, and everybody made a deal of it. But that's a mistake, okay? That's not domestic abuse that, you forgive and then he does it again, or that's not Antonio Brown that gets involved or that's not 30 masseuse people. it's just astounding to me that you would you be surprised if you were a media member in Cleveland that something came up with Deshaun Watson?
No.
No.
No, of course not. You know it's going to, and it's going to again and again and again and again. Just like when you trade for James Harden, you know that there's going to be drama. Kyrie Irving, that's who
Antonio
they are.
Brown?
It's what they do. Yeah, he's going to freeze his feet. Like what? That's the fun part of the whole thing. The whole equation is you never know exactly where the drama is going to come from. You just know it's coming. And then they say, yeah, frozen feet. And you're like, what? Yeah, he cryogenically froze. You just never know. It's unpredictable where it's going to come from, but it always comes.
Has anybody else in your lifetime ever taken off their jersey in the middle of a game, ran to the end zone like Antonio Brown did, and started giving? You're right. There's too many jokes about Deshaun Watson having a shoulder and needing a deep massage.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And these guys are just and it's sad because it's just like, man, I don't know.
And then he's going to get upset about it. And we talked to Shaq Leonard today. And Shaq, he always drops in the thing. Like, he was asked about Anthony Richardson and what help he could beat Anthony in kind of shepherding him through this rehab process, which is enjoyable and humorous in itself. But he said, and then somebody in the media is going to accuse you of something, blah, 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 blah. No. Like, people in the media only accuse people of things when there's reason to suspect or they've heard from somebody inside the building that there's something to be accused of.
Yeah.
So if Anthony goes through, and you got to be honest, or we fill in our own narrative, and that's no good.
That's no good.
You don't want that, and that's what happened with Leonard. Like, we don't know what's going on. All we know is he plays slow. So people say he plays slow. Well, he does play slow. Why is he playing slow? Is he okay physically? Yeah, he's okay physically. Okay, well then why? And people decide, well, he's just there for the money and he doesn't give a shit anymore. That's what you open up when you're not honest. There's a penalty for a lack of transparency.
That's a great point. Don't let us fill in the blanks.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
that's a bad strategy.
No, but all right, let's go to Grover Stewart. So Grover Stewart, was he trying to have a baby? What was it?
Yeah,
was he trying to
Mathis with Clomid?
A lot of I was trying to have a baby. I didn't know what it was. My doctor prescribed it. He did take responsibility. Did he not? He's like, I've got to be responsible what I put in my body. Right?
And which I mean that I think they've got on a like a flash drive someplace the emergency press release quote.
Yeah.
And they just plug in the names and whatnot. It's my responsibility. I didn't know I did it, but it's my responsibility. I've got to educate myself better, and that's what he came with. But if I were a prosecutor, if I were your sister down in Monroe County, I could put together a pretty good circumstantial case that Grover Stewart knew exactly what he was doing and what he was going to get as a result.
How so?
He's in the final year of his contract. It's likely to be his last big contract. Yeah. This is his last chance to go get his big bag. And so he wants to play at the highest level possible. And if he's got to, not dot a few I's and not cross a few T's,
Risk reward.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you get away with it, maybe you don't. I don't blame him. It's a business. So you want to get yours, but it's costing him $3.28 million. That's a pretty steep tag.
That's a big tag.
Yeah.
I think I'm wrong. Lee and I had a conversation about this last night, and she brought this up unsolicited, and I have said this for years. I don't really care so much about NFL and PEDs. I don't know. I just don't. I feel like you can die out there and whatever you got to do. I don't know, baseball, it kind of more numbers driven. You're ruining history. I know I'm wrong. I know I'm wrong, but that's how I feel about it.
We've got to look at the field and see people who just on some level look like us. If we look out on the field and we see these roided up monsters like you've got in pro wrestling with the shoulders like this, and
then don't watch college or don't watch professional basketball. Because I'm telling you, professional basketball players don't look like anybody you know. And I'm not talking about the roid part. I've always said basketball would be the perfect thing to do roids.
Yeah.
And I almost, I didn't do it, but I swear to God, my buddy Artie Papella did a paper, and doctors were involved to graduate, and he did it on 6-week cycles of steroids and their safety under a doctor's care. And I had a player, I swear to God, he could have been an NBA player, and I battled internally, and after talking to a doctor, like, man, this kid could make millions. He's going to be an absolute failure as a human being if he does it, and he's proven that to be true. But I would feel so guilty. But if this dude got built like he would be, and I never was going to do it. But when you research it a little bit, I would have. All right, let me go this route. If I were sitting at a desk in one of them big buildings downtown and somebody came to me and said, look, you take this, you're going to be at the top of your industry and you're going to make zillions of dollars. It's legal in the United States.
Right.
And it's not illegal in our industry. That's hard for me to say no to.
Right.
I'm sorry. I mean, I know we all have a moral compass that has to guide us, but that moral compass isn't violated by, it's not illegal. This is when steroids was going. It's not illegal in the United States. Basically, everybody's doing it. If you don't do it, you're going to end up being an insurance man in Schenectady. I mean, shit. I just have I don't know. The money's so big.
If you've exhausted all other options, like on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're a 7, and you work and you grind and you work and you get to a 7.5, but you got to be a 9 to go get money and go get what you've worked as hard as these guys to go get, and you've got an easy port after you work as hard as you can. I can see a lot of people doing that.
I can see a ton doing it. I can see me doing it at some point. Now, if somebody came to me and said, this is illegal, but it's great.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So, let's say when you're 25.
Yeah.
It's going to shave 10 years off your life. Your life expectancy is 80. You can expect to live to 70 if you do that.
I didn't think I cared about that at 25.
I didn't either. 70 seems like forever. Not so much anymore.
Ooh, now I was just thinking, I got about 19 summers left if I'm lucky. Yeah, hey, no, that's right. It's going to shrink your balls. Shrinking your nuts or your pee-pee would have had or any type of sexual dysfunction would have had more of an impact on me, sadly, at that age.
Than losing your
life?
I
think so, because you want, I didn't have kids. You want to have kids. You don't want to be, I don't know.
He went out grinding. Good for him.
I'm just saying, I don't, being educated. But look, Grover Stewart's out. I don't know. It does impact, because you've talked about him from the get-go. He's been one of the, if there's a star on the Colts defense, he's been a star.
And he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy to talk to. Came from nothing. He's from Southwest Georgia, went to Albany State, and he's the guy who has everybody over and he cooks the food. We saw that on Hard Knocks. But he does that, and he's genuinely a guy that people sort of rally around and people like. And for him to be gone for 6 weeks right at this moment is really not good.
No, it's not. And his impact, well, thankfully, Nick Chubb's not going to be around.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's a big deal. And his impact, again, you and I have talked about these kind of things. He's kind of a Seinfeld guy. You lose a guy and it hurts performance, but it hurts the overall team when that personality, because he can't even be around. Right. He's not
for 3 weeks.
For 3 weeks.
I think that's the thing.
Okay. Well, his some guy's presence isn't felt. His presence, it seems to me, big time felt. Like, I honestly don't think that with this particular team, I don't think Darius Leonard's presence, if he were gone, I don't think it would be felt that much. I don't think he's that big an influencer anymore.
I don't know what you can tell from being in the locker room when the media's in there. But I would say that you're right. That Grover Stewart is a guy that people rally around more than Shaq Leonard. And I think that Zaire Franklin's one of those guys, too, who people rally around. I think they like Zaire Franklin.
Did you see Zaire Franklin's interview with Jonathan Taylor?
The whole thing hadn't been released. I saw the 1 minute little thing.
What did you think of that?
I thought, this sounds terrible, but we got to be honest, right? If we're not honest, what are we? Jonathan Taylor sounded like he was full of shit, just in a different way.
How so?
I didn't buy what he was saying.
Well, he was basically saying that the media was totally wrong. He never wanted, the clip that I saw, he never wanted out of here. never said that. Had to leave to go train or rehab somewhere else. It wasn't like he was walking out of practice. That's the part I heard.
And he may be 100% right and being 100% honest, but I know standing in front of his locker when he starts talking, I don't even bring the camera up.
You just know why.
I know what he's going to say.
You know he's full of shit?
It's just nonsense. I mean, he's trying to, I don't know whether he's trying to tell people what they want to hear or what he wants them to believe, but it just doesn't sound like it comes from a place of honesty. And so I have no time for it.
Yeah, that's that. Once you lose that, you've lost everything. Once people can get mad at you for your honesty if they believe it's honesty.
Yeah.
They can agree with your honesty if they believe it's honesty. But once you lose the honest element, you're fucked.
And sometimes people will think that you're being unfair to view them as dishonest. They don't even realize they're being dishonest or disingenuous. They think they're trying, but we know different. We've been around the block 1,600 times.
I want to go to something. Kevin Stefanski, I was reading about him today, the coach of the Browns, thinks that this is going to be an increased workload for Jonathan Taylor. You buy that?
Yes.
I do too.
Yeah, look, your back's up against the wall. You got to come out and do what you're supposed to do. And they didn't last week, and I think Steichen knows it. So I think this week they get busy running the football, and the Browns are going to show them stuff that's going to make them not want to run it. But you can't win if you have Gardner Minshew throwing the ball 55 times. So strap it up and get after people, knock them on their ass, and Jonathan Taylor go run a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be better than they are, regardless of their scheme.
11% of the time. I was reading up today.
Yeah.
I was prepared
Studying?
for this show. Yeah, a little bit.
Ooh.
11% of the time, teams played the nickel defense against Brock Purdy going into the game, which means they were loading up to stop the run. They played it. Stefanski's defense did with Jim Schwartz as the head coach. They played it 76% of the time. They were going to stop Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
They were not going to let Brock Purdy beat them. They said, okay, Deebo Samuels, Christian McCaffrey, both got hurt, but they had a completely different plan going into the game. And I'm curious, Colts just don't have a damn weapon to beat you. So that strategy, I don't think you can do against the Colts and be successful.
I don't think there's any point.
I don't either.
Like why? Like we'll throw them for a loop. We'll take away the thing that they don't want to do.
But my son told me I'm being totally unfair. And I got to look this up. He's like, Dad, he called me last night. We were just talking.
Right?
Yeah, he goes, you just don't like the Colts. I go, no, that's not it. I just don't like the way the Colts are being handled. I don't like the direction. And I shouldn't say I don't like the GM, because I do like the GM. He's always good to me. I'm good to him, but I rip his ass every chance I get. But so he threw out some statistics to me, and I wanted to do this with you. All right. I said they can't win with Minshew. I think Minshew sucks. He's going to have a bounce-back game. And Andrew started bringing, Joe Burrow had a bad game. Brock Purdy had a bad game. And he started throwing this out. Dad, against Tennessee, 11 for 14, 150. He threw 44 times, completed 20, and they beat the Ravens at the Ravens. You're being unfair, he told me, to Gardner Minshew based on one game.
I don't believe in using statistics, and I know this kind of flies in the face of logic. Using statistics in a vacuum
but he did
to
beat the
bolster
Ravens.
your art. Yeah,
50-yard field.
So the exception can't justify No, you can watch and you say, oh, no, this isn't real good. You can't throw deep. It looks very much like Matt Ryan last year, and it is. That's why it looks like that. Gardner Minshew looks much more like Sam Ehlinger than he does Anthony Richardson, and that's not a good thing.
I would go this way. Gardner Minshew looks more like Sam Ehlinger than he does Brock Purdy.
Oh, yeah.
Because Richardson's a different player. He's a runner, but
there's something to Purdy. Like Purdy, there's like a charisma,
like a Tom Brady type of thing.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree. They always talk about that it factor, but there is, and I don't look. Is it we getting PJ Walker against us?
Yes.
Come on. Now
so we're going to take away PJ Walker. let's not get beat by P.J. Walker. That's Gus Bradley now.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you got P.J. Walker against Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
Who's got the better quarterback?
I think the Colts have the advantage. I think Minshew's a better quarterback. He's not as multiple in the ways that he can beat you. P.J. Walker's pretty good with his feet.
Yeah.
But, Minshew, I think, is really, really smart. And if the Colts had liked P.J. Walker, he'd still be on the ball.
That's bingo. That's where I was going to get to. Because it felt like there was a time when P.J. Walker was a lifetime Colt.
Yeah,
like he was going to be like Jim Sorgi. Yeah. Right? He was going to be a practice squad. No, you're on. He would have been the perfect, back when he was here, the perfect third guy that they do now. They bring him up for the game so they don't have to play a lineman.
Kellen Mond is an interesting guy in that role. I like Kellen Mond.
Kellen Mond, they say, has real ability. I don't know.
Well, at Texas A&M, he was really good. But then you're hoping that 32 GMs in the NFL were wrong because nobody hired him. They hired him off the couch.
Yeah, and I'll give JMV credit. If you're worried about the backup or third string quarterback and how good they're going to be, you don't have much of a chance. No, that's what he was saying with Manning, and it is true.
It does get a little bit tiresome, like the comments, and we'll get comments. And God bless
I haven't
you,
seen
people
any
who
comments.
comment.
Where's comments? Did you block comments today?
No. We are not made for kids, so comments are afoot. But you've got a what was I talking about?
I don't know. P.J. Walker, 32 general managers.
Oh yeah. When you hire a guy off the couch, what do you got? You got a guy that everybody else wouldn't hire. So
you got a freaking guy off the couch.
At A&M, he's kind of that guy. He's the RPO guy. He's got a good arm, a live arm. Okay, he would make sense, kind of as a backup. But the comments, it's always, hey, we got to see what Kellen Mond can do.
No.
We've got to develop Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond.
No.
It's like what you always say about walk-ons. Both our kids were walk-ons, right? And Andrew wound up getting a scholarship. You don't want a head coach out there trying to get a walk-on to be, instead of a 6 out of 10, a 6.5 out of 10 or a 7. You want a head coach out there working a guy who's a 9 who can get to a 10.
That's it. I mean, you can have a great practice. Your walk-ons were great today. All right.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Kellen Mond develop. I don't want to see the other guy, Ellinger, develop. I mean, hey, look, for them personally, go develop. Yay, Rob, out there. Okay, get a chance somewhere, but the season never depends on the guy you get off the waiver wire or the guy that you got as a third string. And if it does, that's not true either, because Brock Purdy saved the season. And last year, this time, he was Garoppolo, Trey Lance, and Brock Purdy.
And if Bill Polian doesn't sign Hank Baskett, he signs somebody with a pair of hands on the end of his arms, you win a second Super Bowl.
All right.
We mock Chris Ballard for doing exactly this.
Yeah.
Right? He grinds over the 53rd guy in that roster. And it doesn't make a damn bit of difference, but then all of a sudden, that assumes that your starters can play at a championship level. At that point, the 53rd guy matters. But if you 1 through 22 are garbage, 53 doesn't do
how
any
good
good
is
at
53?
All. Yeah.
I mean, how good is, all right.
That's a great point.
Right. How good is how good is offensive player number 23?
Yeah.
Meaning he's third string and your team's bad. So you got first string is 11, second string is 22, third string you're 23rd. I'm the best on the third. Hey.
And if he is great, you've done a shitty job of evaluating your own talent. Yeah. If this guy was great, he came in and, like, if Kellen Mond comes in somehow and he lights it up, what the hell were you doing not signing him in the first place, and why wasn't he playing over the top of Ellinger? There's no way to win. GMs, that's worst life in the history of lives.
Weight coach, strength coach, college strength coach. I always said they're up at 6 a.m. year round.
Yeah.
You and I talked about this off air, and I talked about this forever on my radio show. Kent, I feel like if game week comes and you get to Thursday, or Friday, actually, not Thursday, and nobody on the Colts has some weird, mysterious injury that they got on the grass, we don't know what happened. He tore his ACL. Now, you mentioned it was Granson, right? Granson's got the concussion like on a win. I swear, and again, this goes back to one of the points we talked about initially. We watch this team. You cover the team. I cover it from afar. So maybe we think in our own little bubble, this is Colts specific. This happens to every team.
Right.
But I swear to you, Kent, you get those emails still, I'm sure, that say all of a sudden in the middle of a Wednesday, so-and-so's concussed in practice, today's in the protocol.
Yeah.
It's unfreaking, and this time it's Granson.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are we doing?
Just weird.
It's all the time.
And the concussions, like the thing that, the one injury that really I was like, was Bernard Ryman gets a concussion in the middle of the week. They wear those giant foam things on top of their helmets during practice. And I talked to him the day before, which is a Wednesday, and then all of a sudden he's on the protocol Thursday. I don't understand how that can possibly happen. It's a concussion. How's a concussion happen in a practice?
I guess I could see you fall back, but I don't have an answer. Honestly, I don't have an answer.
If they told us what happens.
Well,
right, but they don't. It's not like, Ryman, he fell down and he hit his head, and but they don't tell us anything. So again, we get to create the narrative that kind of fits what piques our interest.
And in this case, Colts are heavily concussed, which they are. When you look at it, I feel like, and again, I'm sure this happens to every team. I'm sure every media group that follows their team in every city says the same thing. But I'll say this, going back to walk-ons, hey man, you can't have the good players getting hurt. The walk-on gets hurt, he's out for the year, we feel bad, we visit him in the hospital, we do everything we can, we get the rehab, oh man. But you're relieved it's a freaking walk-on, not the freaking star player. And in this case with Raymond, it's a left tackle.
Yeah.
Come on, that's an important position.
You know what's interesting to me this week? Tell me what, like Jim Schwartz as a defensive coordinator, you mentioned with the Browns, Gus Bradley with the Colts. What we keep hearing is that it was down to those two cats for the defensive coordinator job. And it'll be interesting here.
Oh, okay.
Here, when they hired Bradley, Schwartz came in second. So, and it was close. As we watch the Browns and the Colts, are we going to wish that we had Jim Schwartz, the hyper-aggressive blitz all the time, put pressure on the quarterback guy, or Gus Bradley, who kind of puts in that sort of the bubble zone and, the 3-deep zone?
I think it depends on two things. One,
or cover three.
We're going to either wish we had Myles Garrett either glad we have Kenny Moore or wish Kenny Moore didn't get that contract, because I don't know. I haven't studied it as much as I guess most have, but it seems like Kenny Moore is in the middle of a lot of miscommunication going back to game 1 or 2, whatever it was. I think players and personnel, like, look, if you don't have a plan for Myles Garrett, you're screwed. I don't care who the defensive coordinator is, because wouldn't you think he's kind of in that level of, Donald and Khalil Mack? Maybe nobody's playing like that Crosby kid, Max Crosby, out with LA or Las Vegas, but I think watching Myles Garrett last week, I thought, wow. I thought he was supposed to be a bust. This dude's a bad man.
And that whole defense flies around the football, and they're busy, and you look at the zone teams, and then you look at like the Browns. You're like, holy crap! Like they played a different. They got everybody moving everywhere.
Anthony Walker's involved in that.
Yeah, concussion protocol.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, well,
but you're right.
That's remnants from his Colts days, I think. You just get if somebody on the Colts gets a concussion, somebody that wasn't Colt has to answer the bell with the
former Colts at disproportionate risk for concussion protocol.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at in all of this. But it's just a matter, I guess, of what your talent level is. But I'll say this: it's like Jim Schwartz. And then you got Eberflus down here with we're going to sit back. And then, somewhere in the middle is Gus Bradley, I would say. Wouldn't you agree? Like, Gus Bradley isn't. He's
a little closer to Eberflus than he is Schwartz.
Yes, but he's not Eberflus. He's not. He's more cautious, I guess, than, 46 defense with the Bears. Like, maybe that's where Schwartz is headed. I don't know, and that's going to be interesting because when you play and you blitz, it does avail itself to bigger plays. It does avail itself to more one-on-one. It does avail itself to somebody missing a tackle, and next thing you know, somebody's got a 20, 40, 50-yard gain.
Right.
So maybe their aggressiveness plays into the ball, not necessarily being thrown 50 yards for a 50-yard play, but throwing 10 yards for a broken tackle, 40-yard play against a blitz. Because, again, I say this every time we talk, you got to have some freaking plays down the field somehow.
But you saw, like the first two drives this past weekend in Jacksonville, the Colts go out, great first drive, 16 plays or whatever, they kick a field goal. Then the Jaguars get it. And because we're kind of playing that shell business, it ding, don't, do, touchdown. And then you turn it over on the very next play. They score on the following play. You're down 14-3 and you can't score and the game's over.
And you've played a lot of offense, particularly in that first drive, to get 3 points.
Yeah.
You've played a lot. Oh.
Yeah.
And look, again, I don't know how, unless you have the right call against a blitzing defense, I don't know how you solve that with the Colts. I honestly don't, because there is no evidence to suggest Alec Pierce can get separation deep. There's no evidence to suggest. Maybe the one guy that there is, and we talk about him, is Downs and Taylor. But God, you have to be so good and so precise when you don't have big play talent, and that's where I just can't imagine Ballard not understanding this.
Play after play after play, you've got to have all 11 do exactly what they're supposed to.
Yes.
That's really, really hard. That asks a lot of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does. But if I were looking, it's not like Ballard's in his first year and he's trying to get this thing right.
Right.
We've all
adjust. And he won't. And he keeps saying, you build from the inside out, that's going to be on my grave marker. Okay. Well, go sell insurance. You got to have people who are fast. We say it every single show. Speed, speed, speed. At every position, it's important, and we don't draft to it, and it kind of drives me crazy. Although Pierce, fast, Richardson, fast. But
is Pierce NFL fast?
He sure doesn't look it.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's got to be a skill, too, in evaluation.
Yeah.
He runs a 4.3. That's fast. And that's where I got excited about Josh Downs. When people talked about him, they talked about his ability to separate and in his ability to accelerate once he got the ball. I think we've seen glimpses of it. I don't think, we always like the new thing. So until further notice, we'll go with him. But I don't see that out
Well, we
of
know
Pierce.
the old thing doesn't work.
That's why I don't see that out of Pierce, and I certainly don't see that out of Pittman.
Yeah.
And you ain't changing it.
So let me ask you this. Like the trade deadline's coming up, and so there are all these rumors about Jerry Jeudy. Do you think that Chris Ballard is the kind of GM,
No.
3-3 with Minshew as a quarterback, who's going to trade meaningful draft picks to go get Jerry Jeudy?
I liked Jerry Jeudy, and I'm going to tell you why, and this may be the only time you ever hear this out of my mouth. Last year, before the season, I kind of studied it for a fantasy football league.
Yeah.
And I drafted Jerry Jeudy because he was, it looked good. He didn't have a very good year. He got hurt. And then, so I've always liked Jerry Jeudy. And then I saw the video of him and Steve Smith, and Jerry Jeudy was acting like an idiot behind him, speaking incoherent. I don't know if you saw this thing.
Yeah.
Steve Smith, the former wide receiver,
Yep.
on Major League or on NFL Network, and he had talked some smacks, and he's not a number one wide receiver. And they're doing the game. He's on the field, Denver, and whoever they played last week. And Ken, I'm telling you, Jeudy looked like a crazy person.
Really?
He had his hat on. He's dancing all behind Smith. Smith wanted to talk to him. And he looked like an insane person. He looked like one of those wide receivers that you're like,
You don't need
I
that
don't want
guy.
that guy around here. So is Ballard that guy? Hell no, Ballard's not that guy. Should Jeudy be the guy to be brought in? I would have said yeah, but Ken, you gotta watch that thing.
I'll do it.
He looks insane. And don't give me that you're old white guy. You don't know. No, I know insane. No, I watched it. Anybody? I don't know what's going on with our mentions. I guarantee you, people are saying, "Oh yeah, he had his helmet off. He was dancing. he was, I don't even know the words that were coming out of his mouth. I got to get Lula here. But it was, can't.
That's no good.
No.
And that's not what he will bring into that
No.
room ever. You could run a 3.8 40 and be able to bench 225 like 64 times.
Right.
You're not coming into that room if you're crazy.
No, you're not. And you don't even have to be totally sane. But you can't be,
No.
I can't even. It was on the level, maybe even worse than anything you saw, other than the dance in the end zone with his jersey off Antonio Brown. It was freaking crazy. Hey, Ken, it was nuts.
Yeah, Dan's got a dog issue to take care of. Make sure and subscribe. You've got to subscribe. Make sure and like the video because it's the nice, polite thing to do. Hoosier hospitality and all that.
And don't be Jerry Jeudy dancing behind.
No, don't.
But you know what? Maybe I'm wrong, but the McKenzie kid looks fast. I don't know. I'm sitting there watching him, and I'm thinking,
Yeah, I think you're going into that. Let's put in the new guy because we don't like
Probably.
the old guy.
I don't like the old. I mean, I told you about, not you, but I told radio listeners about Pittman. The moment he got drafted, 2 NFL guys called me and said, no, he's slow. He's a nice kid, great kid.
Yeah,
But he's
funny.
Yeah, wonderful. And good hand. If you had T.Y. Hilton or you had a burner next, okay, he's fine.
People always do this.
Huh.
They think somehow because we say he's not a very good player, he's not an elite level player, that we're hating.
No.
And that we don't like people personally. We do like people personally, and Chris Ballard among them. Personally, I'm certain that going to Wolfie's and drinking a beer or 6 with Chris Ballard would be all kinds of fun and that we'd enjoy it. I'm sure that with Michael Pittman, same thing.
Yeah.
Even without the beer, he is a funny guy. That doesn't mean he can play football. We're good guys. We're not taking millions of dollars to go play wide receiver, for God's sake. I never did.
No, your point is so good because I feel like I always had to preface that with Ballard. Like, look, I like the guy. But this is built on a house of sand. This has always been built on a house of sand. And I like Pittman. I mean, I used to do this. I used to text Ballard after I'd have somebody on. Like, I really like Nyheim Hines. Like, Nyheim Hines was a really good dude. So I would text Ballard, man, I had so-and-so on. And boy, was he great. Like, he was terrific. You guys should be proud to have that guy on your team. Well, that doesn't mean, we're proud to have that guy, but that doesn't mean you can go out and play. I mean, he can play to a level. And people always say this, well, I don't see you two out there playing. Hey, I'm 60. He's 60. I mean, stop it. As though we're talking about play. Yes, they can play better than every other human being damn near on the face of the earth. We're talking about play against the level with which they are being paid to play.
Championship level.
That's what we're talking about.
Go win with these guys.
Yeah, and I'm not.
Right.
Hey, of course they can play. I've said this all the time, one of the great advantages NFL players have is there's 53 guys, which means there's more jobs, and there's no team in Egypt, or there's no team in Israel, or there's no team in Peru where guys are going to come. Like, I didn't realize this, and I'm getting off on another side, but I'm curious your take. There's a thing going on now where TNT and ESPN, who cover the NBA, want to... The price is huge. Viewership of the NBA is down, but they want money because the viewership's still okay. The networks say, wait a second, we don't want to pay this much. So one of the ways not to pay so much, instead of putting 165 combined NBA games on national TV, TNT, and ESPN, they want a smaller schedule. And the NBA doesn't want that, obviously. They want bigger. Well, one of the reasons that the people feel that NBA viewership is down is because the best players are foreign. Now think about it. They were Giannis, Jokic, and Doncic. And now the best player coming in is Wembanyama, the kid from France.
Right.
And look, you can call it, there's got to be an ist that I'm being called. You can call it being a nationalist, but if you're in America, you kind of want to see Americans play to a certain degree.
Well, and look what happened with hockey. Hockey used to be a pretty big sport.
How about IndyCar?
And then the Soviet bloc crumbled, and all of a sudden you got Russians all over the place, and Norwegians, and all these guys, Poles, Slovaks, and we're like, I can't pronounce it.
No.
Tereshchenko. I don't know who that guy is. but I know I didn't grow up down the street from his dad.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so that happened to hockey, and I think that I think two things really work against the NBA. One is the 82-game schedule that's got to come down to 60. The other is you've got too many international players. And yet another is that there is a level of entitlement within that culture that makes me think, or fans think, that they believe that the league exists for them instead of the league existing for the fans and the viewers. And we're not smart enough to see it right away, but when we do see it, we are automatically appalled by it, and we won't consume it anymore.
I think that's well said. I think that people can say, well, in our market, we love the NBA. We're not talking about a specific market because, let's be honest,
right.
If you win, the market likes you. Okay, we're talking about bigger. We're talking about nationally across the board who's watching. And I think I always say this with the NBA, and this includes Adam Silver and everybody associated with it, announcers. Problem when the NBA starts a season is you got to listen to the NBA. You got to listen to the players.
Yeah.
You got to listen to the stupid shit that comes out of the, you got left-wing politics that they're trying to put on you, which is fine because most media is left-wing and they want to hear it, but most people don't want their politics in their sports. So that's part of having to hear. I think people get, and I know they have, people have gotten fed up with it. If the NBA, I think, came out, and I think the game, I think initially people were enthralled by making jump shots. But now it's like, man, all anybody does is shoot a three.
Yeah, right.
And it's exciting when Steph Curry gets going off, but it's kind of...
He's shooting 4-pointers.
Yeah.
He's way back there.
And he has a cachet about it because he's won and everything, and he's got to stop. But everybody else, it's like, what the fuck you doing?
Right.
I don't know. So I'm not saying that I'm not bashing the NBA. Hell, I went to the Pacer game last year. Lee and I had a blast, and I like going. But I do see where if I was a network, because NBC got rid of the NHL.
Right.
They said, hey, we're out. Who else got rid of something? ESPN didn't renew Big Ten. Their Big Ten contract. They let Big Ten go. They wanted the SEC, not the Big Ten. So it's not like major networks are saying
And these aren't ideologues.
No,
these are guys who are dollars and cents
and
ROI driven. And if the money isn't there, they're not spending it, and that's the way it works.
That's exactly right. And ever since in the NBA's case, I think the politics have really hurt. I think they went so overboard.
Because it's turned guys off,
right,
and that reflects in the ROI for the league,
yes,
and the networks. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so that's going to be interesting.
How about this? Adam Silver came out yesterday, I believe, and said that the NBA is thinking about All-Star Weekend. They're going to put on an All-Star game with the Eastern Conference players playing the Western Conference players. And I said to myself, my God, this is revolutionary.
I thought this is always did.
God, they've had like LeBron and
lately. How many years?
Them up.
How many years hasn't it been that?
They're thick. I was like, whoa, like blow my mind. What? Golly, that's fantastic.
Didn't we grow up with that?
Yeah.
Didn't we?
Yeah.
What is it called? Gaslighting? When something gets told to you differently and they try to make you believe. Like, I saw that too. And these young kids that produce my show, they give me a rundown and they're like, can you believe he's trying to do this? I'm like, well, I think that's the way it's always been, Ken. And, as a kid, that was fun.
Yeah.
As a kid, it was like, well, I get to see Bob Lanier play with Willis Reed or whoever. I'm just throwing out name against maybe Kareem was with the Lakers or, that'd be fun. I swear to you, I got gaslighted because I swear, I'm like, I swear that's the
Wait, huh? Nobody likes all-star games. Nobody likes a game. We like the event. We like the three-point contest, not quite as much as we used to, the dunk contest. It's a big weekend. It's a festival, and we hope that people come to Indianapolis and they really enjoy it this February. I would think that you would.
Yeah, and, but all right, I'm going to throw something else out at you. So flag football is going into the Olympics, and here's something that I find interesting because I try to connect dots, and I do. I've always tried to connect them before they become public. It just so happened that yesterday or the day before, Tom Brady came out and he talked about life without football. Now, I thought Tom Brady was supposed to be in a booth. Like, fuck, I read where he signed 300. Like,
we're a lot of money.
300 some $million for 10 years, and he's sitting at home. I'm like, apparently it's 2024. Okay. So Brady within 24 hours of the NFL or of the Olympics announcing flag football, came out and said this. He said, I can see the NFL becoming flag football in the future. Now, that's, to me, I think what's going to happen here, now, maybe I'm wrong, but in 2028 in Los Angeles, when they have flag football, the NFL is going to be doing this. They're going to be checking which way the wind blows. Could this be a thing? And Brady also said there are so many people within the offices and in the administration of the NFL that want to take out the physicality, that he can see it. Because now, that's a common thing players say.
They want to get rid of those drop hip tackles or whatever.
And okay, so then what's next?
Well, how do they call it? I don't, like, everything is illegal.
My point is, are we going to see it? Is it legitimate to think in 20 years we're going to see flag football instead?
I'm not watching flag football.
Nobody
I have no interest in why. I mean, I have no interest in playing it. I'm not going to have any interest. When the Olympics talked about flag football, it occurred to me after about a day, I was like, wait a minute. Is this for guys or is this for women? Like, what gender is going to be playing flag football? Because the NFL is supporting, like, female flag football. So it could be both. But why do I want to watch? Like, I played intramural flag football at Indiana, and it wasn't a lot of fun. I hit people anyway and got flagged. Football without contact is just stupid.
I agree.
I'm really tired. Like, if you go back, your upbringing in Lake County, right, steel mill area, and you had guys who would get out on a field without pads and with a little leather thing and knock the living crap out of each other and be happy about it. Now it's like, oh no, we've got to wear the soft helmet. Stop it. It's not that big a deal. It's guys going out, understanding what they're into, and if they get concussions, they get concussions. And if you don't like it, get the hell out of the game. If you're the NFL, you can't lie about it. You can't, like, suppress research done on concussions. You can't do that. But everybody knows that football's dangerous. Bronco Nagurski, there's that apocryphal story, I don't think it's true, playing at Wrigley Field, scores a touchdown, runs through the end zone, hits the wall. And they say, hey, nice run. He goes, man, that last guy hit me. That was that's who those guys were.
Moms and dads get mad now and they got to go. I had two people in the last 5 years say, well, I could not believe we went down the street and our kids were tackling each other.
Oh, no.
What are you talking about?
The horrors.
That was always the thing. Hey, we playing tackle today. We playing two-hand touch. But what are we playing? I was always like, we talking about we're playing tackle football.
And you could blow guys up, and, maybe you got hurt. Maybe you didn't.
Lee still talks about tackling her monstrous brother. I had to get on his ankles and hang on. I just had to hang on the ankle. Yeah, look.
But I got good at, like, smacking a foot because I was 3 years younger than the guys on our block. I couldn't hit these guys.
Yeah.
So you chase and you dive and you smack a foot and you upend them.
Yeah.
You trip.
And then you're a hero.
Yeah.
To this day, I will tell you, my brother's greatest athletic moment is the sound of him blocking Pat Doherty's punt. Pat was about 5 years older than us. He played one day. My brother came in. I heard a boom, which was the punt. I heard a boom, which was his chest. I heard a, But yeah, but I swear to God, I think that the NFL is trying to figure out how to survive the next 50 years, maybe more. And I swear to God, flag football is being investigated, and maybe the world will change. Maybe all of these little pussies will grow up and they'll want just flag football and don't want to see somebody get hit. I can't believe that's ultimately what America wants, but it's no coincidence. Don't tell me it is that Tom Brady starts talking about NFL wanting contact out, physicality out, thinking it's going to go to flag football. And oh, by the way, we're just introducing flag football into the limit. Nobody can tell me that's just a coincidence.
I'm just tired of it. The NFL, Goodell's done a really good job negotiating media deals. He's been great at it. And the TV product is excellent, despite Spiro Dennis and Adam Archuleta, who are again doing the Colts game this Sunday. But when you have lawyers run things, they're always about litigation avoidance, and that's what this is. They just don't want to get sued anymore. So I don't understand why contractually you can't put a poison pill type of clause in a contract that makes it impossible. If you want to play, you want to play. If you don't want to play, you don't want to play. But you've got a league that generates every year 70 to 75 of the top 100 watched programs on television are NFL broadcasts. Don't mess with it.
Don't mess with winning.
Exactly.
Speaking, of the announcers, that's the price of losing.
Yeah.
It used to be Dave Ryan and Johnny Morris we had in Chicago all the time. Like, come on, can we get L.D. Rogatis or whoever the hell was?
Kurt Gowdy.
Yeah, give me somebody. But I've had enough of those two.
Yeah, week after week.
God, I like that Renner girl because she speaks with a smile on her face all the time. She's the one that does golf.
You can hear the smile.
I know. I like her.
She used to have a different name.
Yeah, she just got married.
Somebody or other. Yeah.
Recently, she does all the golf for CBS, and I like her on golf.
She's very good. She asks great questions.
Yeah, but I can't stand the announcers that we got. But you know what? It's the price of not being good enough.
Yeah.
You got to be good. All right, let me ask you. So NFL, speaking of the NFL, talking about a Super Bowl overseas, London. Can't do that, can you?
You cannot do that.
You can't.
You would be stealing from some NFL cities. What is it? $1 billion in revenue elevation or whatever. You can't do that. That's just crazy. But what you could do is, so you send it to London and you split the pie.
With whatever team or whatever, everybody?
32 of them. Yeah, pop, and they get a big check. Just like the Pacers get for not going above the luxury tax. They get the big check every year, and they have, Herb Simon has a big party. And
yeah, but there's got to be some...
Which I applaud, by the way. I'd be really happy if I were Herb Simon, too. Anyway.
Yeah, I would, too. I mean, what the hell? At some point, you got to take care of us. Like the United States of America. At some point, I get it. You're expanding. Maybe we've talked about this. I don't know, but it just irritates the shit out of me because, as you know, because you were in the middle of it, as was I, when the Super Bowl was here, and we got blessed with great weather, all that kind of happy. But it wasn't the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl was the cherry on top. It was the entire week. Indianapolis, smart enough to put a zip line, which made them, I don't know, had to be millions of dollars off that bad boy because there was a line all week to get on a zip line to go. It's the whole thing, and you take that away to do what? To do what? Expand your brand in London? Colts are going to Germany. All right, Colts are going to, okay, that's all right.
I don't.
I mean, okay.
I don't know. You went to London for a game.
Yeah, and I liked it, but the game didn't matter to me. The game was the reason to be there.
Right.
And one of the things that you do when you go there is, man, the people in Europe, unless it's changed in the last however many years they were in London, for 6 or 7, man, they haven't had a new shipment of up-to-date jersey sales in like, I mean, I was seeing like Ben Davidson jersey, Phil Villapiano.
And they don't give a shit.
They didn't
what
give
team
two shit. It did not
matter. I'll put on my NFL jersey and go to the game.
Hey, the NFL's in town. Get your jersey. Oh, yeah. I can't, I'm like,
Ben Davidson.
Even my daughter was like, Dad, who are all these guys on these teams? Like, I know the names, but honest to God, I don't even know if people wearing O.J. Simpson's jerseys knew that it was bad or something.
When going to the game, and this was way early in them coming, I went with the Rams in 2012. They didn't know when to cheer.
No.
Like they're cheering indiscriminately. They have no idea what's going on the field. It was just really, because you're programmed like at a game to hear the cheering and you think, oh, I missed something. And you hear the cheering and you're like, what? And nothing had happened.
No.
They had no idea what they were watching, complete ignorance of the product. It was wonderful.
I tell this story all the time. We were sitting there and we're at the lower bowl, top row, our backs are against the suites. Yeah. So the suite, it's to my left actually, there was a bunch of guys in suits, English guys. And the game goes, and this is, I swear to God, how every NFL game goes. The game's going, and all of a sudden someone gets hurt. So the game went longer than what normally would be, so they had to fit a bunch of commercials in. Guy taps me on the shoulder. He goes, sir, and we had Colts jerseys on. He goes, well, what is this? I go, what do you mean? He goes, why all the stoppage? I go, well, because there's commercials and guy gets hurt and then you got to go to commercial. He goes, soccer, we just run the clock.
Yeah.
So what he was telling me was, to them, Englishmen, football was duller than soccer.
Yeah.
Because you had not, and then he's like, and he started talking about the continuous action of soccer. It was fascinating because I hadn't thought about that. But he was actually saying that to people over there, because we stop for commercial, we stop between every play, it is duller than soccer. NFL best be careful to go to a place where it's considered duller than soccer, because nobody in this country considers soccer more exciting than football.
It's so strange with TV overseas, at least in England, there is no commercial content.
No.
So they'll record like a college football game, play it on ESPN later, and there's no commercial content, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's just great.
Yeah.
They never went to a commercially funded like private media. That's all BBC. It's all government owned. And it's awesome. It's a great way to consume a game.
I know. And so you're going to, look, do whatever you need to do. All right, let's get to prediction time.
All right.
What's going to happen this weekend? Colts, Browns.
I love the Colts in this game.
I do too.
I
didn't
think
look at the line. Do you know the line?
It is 2.5.
Colts
Browns
favorite?
are 2.5 favored.
Seriously?
Favored by 2.5. And the over-under is 40. I love the Colts and I love the under. I think it's a field goal game. It's going to be a field goal festival. I saw a game when I was with the Rams in 2011, and it was 13-12. Rams got the win over the Browns, and your Rams coached by your boy, Steve Spagnuolo at the time. And it was very quiet on the team playing home. I'm not sure why. It wasn't like a celebration.
Huh.
But I think it's going to be a game like that. I think it's going to be 16-15, 19-16. I don't think either team gets to 20.
Colts are getting 3 now.
They are? What? Colts are getting
here.
3?
Right here. Colts plus 3.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Ooh, that's different.
Yeah.
That's like that half point's a big swing.
Yeah. So they're getting 3. I tell you what I like, and I haven't seen this, but I love the Jaguars tonight.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I don't know why. Yeah,
I don't like the Saints.
I don't like the Saints
I
at
can't
all.
trust the Saints.
Who's their quarterback?
Carr.
Oh, isn't he hurt?
Maybe.
I hope he is, but because I already took the bet. But I think if Trevor Lawrence plays, I think the Jaguars are pretty good. And I got to give a shout out to our guy Rick Venturi. And I don't know if Rick wants this said publicly, but I must. And I think I said this last week. A couple of years ago, Venturi said, or maybe I said it Monday, Venturi told me that the Jaguars have passed the Colts damn near in every way.
Yeah, right.
I think we talked about it. Food, Urban came in there and did a great job of, the food's no good. He got rid of other strength guys and they're building a building. And he said it at the time. He said, we don't want to hear this. He said, but they have absolutely passed the Colts in every way. And I feel like, you know what? I don't think there's any question. I used to feel like the Jaguars beat the Colts. And as a little kid, you're like, oh, they got lucky to win. That was your answer.
Yeah.
Why'd the Packers beat the best? They got lucky.
Yeah.
I always felt that the Jaguars got lucky. Now they're just better.
Yeah, not anymore.
No.
They won 10 in a row. 10 in a row, 9 in a row at their place, and they keep beating us here. No, that's terrible. And the Titans had done the same thing for a while. We keep talking about the Colts and what they're doing as if this is the anomaly. as if
Right.
this is not a usual circumstance. And it is again and again and again and again. And we keep saying, well, what are you going to do? Remember back when we were really good? It wasn't that, it was 2010.
Yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, Tom Cruise, Risky Business, life comes at you fast. Or maybe it was Ferris Bueller, I don't know. It was one of those two iconic movies. But you're right, it was 2010. Like, I get it, they were the team of the decades and all that, but this has been crap.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been
hard to watch.
Purgatory, I guess.
And I'm getting, I got tired earlier this week. I was like, God almighty, this is going to be another season where we have to talk about this and how, boy, this offseason, I'm not doing it. I am all chips in behind the Colts every single week, optimistic, feeling good about what they're going to do, even if I got to mind screw myself over and over and over again so often that my neck is sprained. I'm doing it. I'm in.
Right.
We are hopeful, because in the end, if we're wrong, who cares?
Nobody cares. And in the end, if like I do, and my son pointed out yesterday, if you're always negative about the Colts, in the end, who cares?
Right.
Yeah, doesn't matter. We're not playing.
If you're negative and right, this is somehow better than being hopeful and wrong?
No, right. I want them to win. Like, make no mistake. I go to this. When I was working for you at Emmis, it was my first time ever being in a city. Like, I'd always been in a town. You can say Bloomington, it's a town.
Right.
Bloomington's a town. Bowling Green's a town. I'd never been in a city. So I remember so vividly Fridays driving in to do the show, and whether it was 11 o'clock show or noon show, and being like, man, this is cool.
Yeah.
Because everybody had their jerseys on, and I'd never seen that before. I'd seen it in college towns, but in a city, like, wait a second here. And it's just better.
Yep.
It is. Now, I feel like one of my jobs is to tell you what I really think, so I'm going to tell you when it's shit. But it's just so much better when the Colts are winning.
We have to be honest.
You gotta be.
But we can be hopeful, can't
I'm
we?
hopeful.
Those don't have to,
And hopeful doesn't mean you pick the Colts to win every game.
No.
Like, prediction time. Colts are going to win, man. I'm taking the Colts in 3.
Yeah.
Because I don't think P.J. Walker's worth a shit.
I think that offense is broken.
I do too. I think it's very good.
Kareem Hunt didn't practice yesterday. We'll see about him. And the other running back who's been pretty good, I don't recall his name.
No, either.
So
no, Kareem Hunt did score a touchdown though, so maybe he's back. I don't know, but I'm taking the Colts. I'll take 3 points all day at home against a team that isn't used to winning.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it.
Let me ask you.
Yeah,
we got tomorrow 2 o'clock. Boogie Fland at Archbishop Stepanek High School in White Plains, New York.
Oh.
Hey, let me ask you, because I was trying to think of this. New York-based, has Indiana ever gotten a kid out of New York City?
Yeah.
Or a suburb?
New York City? Suburb. We got Robbie Hodson lasted about 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah,
And then Coach Knight compared him. He said he could have the same kind of career Pat Knight had, and he was truly on the next bus to Rutgers. That's a true story. He was literally on the next bus to Rutgers. He calls me in the middle of the night, Coach. I go, well, just meet with Coach Knight. And he's like, if your expectations of me are to be Pat Knight.
He was so insulted he packed.
Literally. Hey, Ken, I'm telling you, literally, he packed.
That's really funny.
I wanted to say, was Roberson from New York? Roberson got kicked off after 76. He got kicked off when Woodson and
Tommy Baker?
Yeah, and all those guys had a problem. I think,
but it's been a long time.
Yeah, there's been
we don't do well in New York.
No, but you know what? Different world.
It is.
Yeah, it's a different world, and Woody's got in New York. And,
right.
And that kid will probably come. I mean, I would come to Indiana right now. Seems like Indiana's a cool place to come to. Woody seems to be,
That's a huge deal.
What?
What do you tell your friends?
That's a huge deal.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it shouldn't mean a damn thing.
No, it shouldn't. But that's a huge thing. Like, I'm living it. Hey, look, I work at Outkick. I mean, when you work at ESPN, everybody invites you to dinner. You work at Outkick, your phone don't ring. I get it, but I like it better. But no, you're right. Where are you going? Like, my brother introduced me to that in 1980. He's like, look, you don't understand. There's a hell of a difference going to Indiana and going to Purdue. So you're going to Indiana, you're not going to Purdue. I'm like, okay, I'll go to Indiana and I'll go to Purdue. He was at Wabash College, and he's like, yeah, you live in a little bubble where we don't really care about either. We worry about DePaul and Marquette back then.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's huge. You're not, no, you're an idiot. But yeah, look, it's still, where is the kid also considering?
Kentucky and Bama.
Well, you're good in New York City if you're going to Kentucky because Pitino and, had guys, Mashburn, those guys, Andre Riddick. But yeah, look, let's be honest. Whoever's going to give him the NIL deal.
Yeah,
right. I mean, that's where the Liam McNeely kid came from, I heard, and that's where this kid will go, who's got the better NIL deal.
How much money do you have? Do you have to tier these guys out? You gave McNeely the A-level bag, and then you got the B-level bag, or can you have two A-level bags?
You better have 3 A-level bags.
Yeah.
Maybe 4.
Ooh.
Well, they opened up money. With Jackson Davis being gone. How about this? I'll give you a good one here.
Yeah.
You want to know a good one?
Huh.
Here's a good one. If Jackson Davis had come back, this is how the world works.
Yeah.
Armand Franklin was coming back and Armand Franklin just signed like a G League or 2-way contract with somebody in the NBA. Armand Franklin was going to come back to Indiana with him.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Facts. I give you facts on this. People tell me, you don't know nothing about Indiana basketball. No, I know the good stuff.
I really liked that kid.
I
liked him. I liked his mom.
I didn't like
his the whole deal. You didn't?
No, I mean, I don't know. I never met his mom, and I'm sure she's nice. But what do I always tell you? Mommies and daddies of Indiana players, get your ass off of social media.
Oh, always.
Get off.
Was she on social media?
Yes, and that's the only reason. That's the only thing that I had anything. I didn't know her. She seemed like a nice lady. Seemed like she loved her son, like mothers do, which is great. And he seemed like an awesome kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she was on social media, and it was about the time when No Gel Eastern's mother was making an idiot of herself from Purdue on social media. I'm like, man, don't. Bobby Capobianco's mother set the bar. Don't be on social media. It's when I first.
That was a really funny kid.
Yeah,
he was a funny kid.
Yes, and his mother was great, but she was on social media, and then the inevitable happens when the shit goes south. Now social media ain't so fun.
Yeah, right.
And now she's firing back, and I remember saying, just don't. I wasn't on social media about Ohio State or Michigan when my son was at Ohio State or Michigan. I was on social media to promote a show, but I wasn't on it about, like, Anthony Leal's mother, for Christ's sake, was on a few years ago bitching that he wasn't playing. Now, come on. I don't even think Woodson knows Anthony Leal's name. Like, if you talk to people that have worked for and around Woodson, he don't even know half the players' name. He called that, what's that kid's name in Kokomo? Floyd?
Flory Badunga.
Yeah, he called him Cody. And people wonder why he didn't go to Indiana.
We called Dane Fife like
Darren he had no idea.
Months.
Yeah, he didn't know Dane Fife's name. He didn't.
It was a player. Player goes, Coach, his name's Dane.
Woody wouldn't know 10 former players. And the funniest thing was hearing people say, well, Woody's been around the program. In my 17 years at Indiana, after 1983, when Whitman and Kitchell left, those were the last guys that played with him, I never saw Mike Woodson.
Really?
Not one time. Not one. So he wouldn't know a former player. Like, we were at, there was a big reunion in 08 after they gave Crean the job. So I went. It was down at Terre Haute, French Lick. And I'm holding court late night with a bunch of former players. Meeks is there, Sloaney's there, Lyndon Jones, all these guys. And we're laughing about stupid shit because I pretty much coached them all. And Woodson's, I think he was with his group and he was walking the bar. And he said, hey, Danny, why don't you go to bed? Something laughing. And I looked and every guy said, he don't know he even played here. I'm like, really? You want me to introduce you? And so, I mean, the NIL is Indiana's smart. Hey, I'll give Indiana credit. Some schools aren't playing the game, and Izzo's getting away with it. Calipari, to a degree, is getting away with it. But I just saw where they were picked 6th or 4th or something like that in the SEC. Now, come on.
Yeah.
They've become a bit irrelevant.
And that's not good in Lexington. That doesn't play in the state of Kentucky or in Lexington.
Particularly after you just gave the guy $9 million or $10 million a year and a lifetime deal.
This is 15 years he's been there,
Is that
pretty
right?
much, right? He came in like 09, I think.
Is that right? Billy
I think.
Gillespie?
Yeah. After Gillespie. And so he's won one title.
It was, he could get away somewhat with that title and then undefeated the next year or whatever when they lost. And then the NBA picks. But all that stuff to me, and I love John. I text with John. All that feels a long time ago to me.
Yeah.
And if it feels that way to me or you live down in that area in New Albany. That's some crazy ass people.
Really nuts.
Yeah.
Insanely nuts. Fans for everybody, Louisville, Kentucky, and Indiana. And they all fight.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. I mean, that makes the season really fun. You've got two teams to root against, no matter who you root for.
Because you're not rooting for two of the three.
Right.
The only way you are is if you're an Indiana fan and you hate Kentucky, so you root for Louisville against Kentucky, or you hate Louisville and you root for Louisville. But no, I don't. And that's, it's actually funny when you look at college basketball, and I know we're going too long, but Indiana has been irrelevant if you really, nationally.
Yeah.
I'm talking about not to us, but nationally. Kentucky's on the verge. Carolina had a good run to get to the final game, but what have they done here in the recent? UCLA's been to Final Four, so that kind of covers that.
Do you like Mick Cronin? Do you like this
Personally,
guy? He's just a little. He's that super officious, weird guy that everybody made fun of when he was coming up, and now he's the czar of everything. So he runs the world.
I knew Mick. There was a kid named Damon Flint who we were recruiting hard at Cincinnati Woodward. He ended up going to Ohio State and Cincinnati. I can't remember, but I met Mick. He was assistant coach at Woodward High School. I really liked Mick. He was kind of helpful. He liked Coach Knight, so he had some involvement. And then as you get going, I've always really liked Mick. I know and all that. I get what you're saying, but
he does this. The standing with his hands behind his back clasped.
He's got that John Gotti thing going.
Yeah.
But you would like Mick. If we were going to go to Wolfie's and have a beer, you would really like Mick. Right. And that's kind of how I gauge it. I don't think you would like Izzo as much as you like Mick.
Really?
I don't think so.
Huh.
And you would like Izzo. But you would walk out of there going, man, I really like Mick.
Here was something that was interesting about Izzo. I saw him at Carmel High School when he was recruiting Gary Harris. I went to the HSE Carmel game. And Izzo came in, and he was sitting with a guy, but nobody else around him. And Julie looked over. And Julie goes, I think that's Tom Izzo. And I looked, and we were about 40 feet from him. I said, he's got the features, but I don't think it's him. He looked relaxed. Nothing was tense about him, and he was just kind of hanging, eating popcorn. It's like, that can't be him, because I've never seen him unclenched.
Yeah, Tom is. You would like him. I'm not, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you wouldn't like him, but I tell you the other guy you would really like, who just got hired by ESPN, and he sent me a text last night. He said, "Well, if you and PJ Carlissimo can do it, anybody can do it." Is Boeheim? You would really like Boeheim. You would really like Boeheim. Boeheim doesn't drink. Boeheim will hang though. Boeheim will hang. Well, Benetti and I, we're just at a practice, and we sat at half court for 2 hours. 2 hours. And he was telling a story, and I know he likes me a lot, and I know he really likes my wife. So, I get all that. But Boeheim is awesome. Awesome.
Really?
And he gets this reputation as being whatever you want to think he is. You would really, you'd like, you know who else you'd like, and you'd be shocked? Underwood, the coach at, you would love him.
See, this is why, I got to tell you, I loved your radio show. It was wonderful, but the things that I hated was when you would put somebody like Brad Underwood on, and you would have this great conversation for 20 minutes, and I think, I can't stand this guy the minute it started. And by the end, I'm like, we got to go drink beers.
I know.
Let's get Brad Underwood over.
I know. When he told the story of how he lost weight, and his daughter said to Dad, stop drinking beer, drink vodka and tequila. And he's like, okay.
And no, that's a plan.
And you got to walk. Okay.
That's really funny.
You would like, like you would like him way better than you'd like John Beeline.
Really?
Way better.
Really?
Way better. And
Yeah.
John's a great dude. And I love John. John saved me $26,000 by giving Andrew a half-year scholarship. And that's not to say that you wouldn't like John. But Brad Underwood, you would like so much, and you would be like, oh, this is awesome. Beat Boeheim, you would be, this is freaking awesome.
Really?
Oh, 100%, 1,000%.
I like Matt Painter.
Yeah, you gotta like Painter.
Painter is a regular guy with a really cool job.
Painter is, but he's an evaluator. Those guys, they wear me out a little bit. They evaluate what you say, and then they have a comeback. It's like, all right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like, okay. I don't need it. Like Billis. Billis is evaluated. I love Billis. Billis was awesome about me at a speech he gave. Awesome at Illinois State. And I love Painter. But I had enough of the Jimmy Cruz, Bob Knight evaluation of what you're saying, and then come up with a clever, and then I'm like, okay, it's a throwaway line, man. I'm just fucking around here. And I'm older than you. I don't need your fucking, like I'll listen to you about Purdue basketball.
Validation,
but I don't,
yeah,
I don't, I'm not looking at it from another direction. But I like Matt a lot.
I've never seen him big time a situation where I was at.
No, Matt, no. And I'm trying to think. I don't know Fred Hoiberg. I don't know the guy. I know the guy a little bit. I really like him, Mike Rhodes, who's at Penn State. You'd really like Mike Rhodes too. Mike Rhodes is the best shooter in college basketball. I don't care who you put up anybody you want. Mike Rhodes is the best shooter in college basketball.
Right.
5 years ago, maybe he's lost a step, but I'd put Mike Rhodes up at the coach at Penn State.
Do you like Peichel?
Love him.
Really? He's a great coach.
He is he is so down to earth, such a good dude, so great. Like, I had him on my radio show, and this isn't why I like him, but all of a sudden I get a package, I got Rutgers gear. But every time I see him at the Final Four, he wrote an unbelievable letter to my son when he got into coaching. I see him at the Final Four, and I'm not friends with him, not even near, but just a great dude. The thing about the Big Ten is they've always had really good dudes as coaches. Like, I don't know if Juwan Howard is a good dude or not, but I know when he was in high school, and I think I told you this story, he walked out at CVS High School, opened the door for Coach Knight and said, man, it's a tough neighborhood. I'll make sure you get inside. Okay, I'm going to walk you into the room.
Really?
Yeah. And so, he smacked the guy. But that's my impression of Howard, was that as an 18-year-old kid, enjoying that.
Yeah.
Like, or not enjoying that, but being smart enough and concerned enough, with that.
Right.
And like Matt Painter, great guy. Guard, great dude. Guard it has lightened up a little bit. He was very uptight because that's the Bo Ryan kind of a thing,
right?
But he's a fantastic. There's not really, I don't know who else is. Who did we miss? Did we miss
McCaffrey? We missed Fred.
Best dude to talk to in the Big Ten pregame. No better guy. Go into funny as hell, laugh his balls off. Kent, I'm telling you, if you walked in with me and Benetti or me and anybody into their, funny as hell. Right. I really like him.
Pete Smith told me he's a great guy. So why you keep busting on Fran McCaffrey, my guy? Not to make Pete sound like Eddie White. He's my guy. I guess he introduced Fran to the woman he married, to Mrs. McCaffrey,
who is a lot.
So
she's loud.
So they know each other well.
Yeah.
And Pete says he's a great guy. He's an awesome guy.
He is.
I don't like people that angry.
I know. Like
the red-faced Fran is no fun.
Bart Fox, our producer, is like, hey, we're keeping the camera.
Yeah. You gotta.
We gotta keep the camera. Yeah. I'm telling you, to go into I never liked going into talking to coaches. I knew I wasn't gonna get anything really, and they're doing it because you're supposed to. And I'm doing it because I'm supposed to. But Fran was a pleasure. Fran would laugh his nuts off. I mean, just laughing. He's like you and Julie. You're the greatest audiences ever. Like Lee is an unbelievable audience, my wife. But I'm telling you, Fran is a great dude to talk to.
All right.
I don't know if we missed anybody, but hell, now there's 18 teams in the Big
So
Ten.
wait a minute. So we got a bunch of guys. Who should I not like? For God's sake, there's got to be somebody for me to hang my hat on, and somebody I point at and say, "Dickhead." Who's that guy?
I don't know the coach at Minnesota, but I know he's a really good dude too, Ben Johnson. I wasn't big on Andy Einfeld, who's coming in with USC. Yeah, I don't like. I'm not. I think he asked me to take a picture of him and somebody else at an event, and I'm like, yeah, fuck you. You know?
Really?
Yeah, and the supermodel thing. In person, all right.
Yeah. You know, we used to go out in Chicago with a guy who dated like the woman who airbrushed the centerfolds. So she got to know all these women. And we'd wind up in bars with centerfold women without the airbrushing. Pretty normal. You know, it wasn't like, oh yeah, playmate. No. They just looked like people. They looked like, okay, like in a bar you'd meet and you'd think, well, that's a good looking woman. But that's it.
Yeah. A friend of mine in my neighborhood dated, remember Jennifer Grey from Flashdance? Was it Flashdance?
She was in Red Dawn, Flashdance.
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, he dated her, and she was the hot girl for a little bit when we were coming up. His name was Hamburger Shoes because he wore round shoes in school. I couldn't even tell you his name. But Hamburger Shoes, Jennifer Grey lived in Chicago, and he was like, you know, just out of college, running around in the stock market, whatever. And Hamburger Shoes started dating Jennifer Grey, and we're like, hey, we call him Shoes. Hey, Shoes. Well, he goes, you know, they don't look, he had the famous quote, and they don't look like they do on TV. And Hamburger Shoes was an unathletic, not dumpy, but he didn't look like you or me.
Right.
What's he doing?
You know what? Sometimes it's just the confident. You know, that's it.
Yeah, and he was very smart.
I don't know if you know this guy. It's a friend of Tom and Paulie's, a guy named Slim.
I remember Slim.
So Slim.
Statutory Slim?
Yeah, Statutory Slim. Slim's in a bar in California, and Rebecca De Mornay walks in, speaking of risky business. And guys are like, oh. And so Slim looks at her and goes, ooh, pick me. So she did. Oh. And they go back, and they have their relations.
He had sex with Rebecca De Mornay?
Yeah.
Just by going...
And he was dismissive of her the next morning. Was like, I don't know whether she wanted to ride home or what the deal was, but he was like, no, I'm good. So she took his cell phone, put it in the microwave, and nuked it.
Well, he had a cell phone. When was this? Recent?
Maybe 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. It was kind of before iPhones.
Wow.
Yeah. It was adios to the phone.
Nuked
Rebecca wasn't playing. Yeah, so stay away from Rebecca De Mornay.
And stay away, women, from Statutory Slim. I mean, come on,
you've heard that story, right? Where he's I think it was at Mike O'Neill's wedding, and meets this girl who I think was 17 or 18. She was in high school, and she's like, "Oh, you got to come back to our house." He's like, "Okay." So he gets in the back seat of the car. And her parents get in.
No.
Yeah, and this was like Slim had to be 32, 33.
Get out of here.
So he's riding back to Lake County with her parents driving, and he's in the back seat with this little girl. Like that's
how he got his name.
Yeah. I don't think anything happened, but yeah, stay away from Slim. Any man who will go through that.
That would have they would have had to put locks on the inside of the door or razors on the locks of the doors. Like in I forget the movie, but you could, you would be statutory.
Yeah. Who's this guy? Honey, who's the guy in his 30s back there with Clarice or whatever her name is? God almighty.
I figured there had to be a reason. These stats.
Yeah.
So we've come to the conclusion.
There we are. We've gone way too long. Yeah. They're all great guys. All coaches are wonderful. I think that's a takeaway from this.
Yeah. I mean,
well,
I got to figure out.
Wait a second.
I tell you who's great. Dane Altman. Dane Altman and his coaches are great. Remember McKenna that played for the Pacers? God, he had a 45-point game. Kevin McKenna.
Yeah.
Greatest dude ever. He's assistant. I think he's getting ready to retire. I text with him all the time. They're excited about coming to the Big Ten. And I'm not sure. I'd have to look and see who Washington's coach is. Maybe it's still Hopkins. If it's Hopkins, here's another great guy.
Another great guy.
He was at Syracuse.
Look, you're usually a lot more discerning with who you.
I know.
You know, you can't like any. I don't know what's happened to Dan.
I don't either.
But this is happy, Dan.
I know.
You're happy about the Colts. You're taking the Colts +3.
Yeah.
You like everybody.
I'm not mad about the Fluber guy. You're going to commit to Indiana. Good for him.
Boogie
Fluger.
Third person Boogie Fland. Yeah. Boogie. Oh, Boogie gets along with Woody.
Does Boogie talk about Boogie?
Boogie talks about Boogie.
No, he doesn't.
Boogie's a third person guy.
Hey, Boogie, go to Kentucky. Yeah, Mike Woodson. If you want Mike Woodson, you got to call Mike Woodson and go see Mike Woodson. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
All right. We'll talk to you Monday.
Subscribe.